This leaked tape has set tongues wagging, with some people arguing it has dire security consequence. Interior Minister Ambrose Derry has jumped to the defense of the IGP, insisting he's going nowhere.
I think they should ignore it with the contempt that it deserves. There is no plot to remove anybody. I don't know about anything. As far as I'm concerned, he's doing a good job.
And will you investigate if there's a so-called tape of a certain senior police officer and MPP government officials trying to plot anything of the sort?
Well, I serve my president and I'll do what is policy to bring the development of this country. I'm not sure I want to get involved in any investigation of things, except that they relate to crime. Then we'll do that. But I think that so far, I think we are doing well.
The minority in parliament are, however, demanding an investigation.
It passes for treason. It is an attempt to subvert the will of the Ghanaian people. The revelations in that audio are very serious. And so, for me, rather than dismiss what is contained in the audio, I think I would urge the Interior Minister to take steps, and very quickly, to get to the bottom of the matter.
Former police officer and MP for Wa West, Peter Lanchini Tobu, says the NDC will resist attempts to rig the 2024 election. He, however, has concerns the tape may have been AI generated.
If somebody thinks that is the Ayawaso West bygone election type of violence that can lead the MPP to break the 8, then it means that we don't want the Fourth Republic. Because anything like Ayawaso West wagon violence, if anything like that surfaces in the 2024 elections, our democracy probably will be gone. Nobody will sit and take that. I've listened to the audio, and it is quite strange. No commissioner worth his salt will do this. I'm tempted to believe that is that application of AI that has generated the voice and have done such a thing. It is dastardly, it is shameful. From a professional background, I think that is an AI generated something just to deceive the public.
So far, what has been lacking is an official commitment to commence an investigation into these claims of a plot to remove IGP Dr. George Ekufu Dampare. The government, through the Interior Minister, is assuring that they are so satisfied with the work. In fact, the minority have also said that they are satisfied with the work he has done so far. There are those who say that they want some more confirmation in terms of the identity of the persons fingered on the tape before they can comment on this publicly. But this is going to be a raging topic, at least for the next few days. Reporting for Joy News, Kwiku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Well, that is the conversation we're having to kickstart the big stories on the AM show this morning. It has to do with that security situation, that ostensible plot, ostensibly to oust the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu Dampare. Now, we're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of this matter, and we have joining the conversation this morning Professor Kwesi Aning, Director, Faculty of Academic Affairs and Research at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Prof, it has been eons. It is so good to have you this morning joining us for this conversation. Good morning. Can you hear me, Professor Aning?
Yes, let me say a very good morning to you and thank you for having me.
It's really good to have you. Now, let's go for the jugular. This came as quite a surprise on the back of some of what was said on this leaked tape, on the back of the things that were described, on the back of what ostensibly suggests that a high-ranking member of the Ghana Police Service is involved, and that some politicians are also involved. The whole rhetoric of the Asin North by-election, the heavy police presence, and how people were not allowed to do or engage in nefarious activity, so to speak. But in terms of this leaked tape, which we still have to substantiate is real, what do you make of it? That's my initial comment to you. What do you make of it?
Well, for me, it doesn't come as a surprise. It doesn't come as a surprise because when Dr. Dampare was appointed, first, that appointment raised a lot of heckles. That's number one. Number two, his style of inclusive civil dialogic leadership. Mature, focused, no nonsense, and objective leadership meant that he made a lot of enemies very quickly. The combination of those who didn't want him because of his honesty and his vision for the service, combined with the internal, structural, institutional problems within the service that he sought to change, meant that Dr. Dampare had made a lot of enemies right from the word go. He then went ahead and got a couple of heavyweights arrested, right from the religious spectrum to the political spectrum. How has Dr. Dampare survived? Because he's been neutral and has done what a police officer must do, focusing on the vision and the mission of his service, which is to provide protection for lives and property. So the shenanigans around whether he should stay or not and why he shouldn't stay doesn't come to me as a surprise. However, and I think I like your introductory point about authenticating the voice on the tape, whether it is a deep fake tape, sort of throwing a red herring out there to see how the public will respond to a possible removal of Dr. Dampare. Now, if it's a red herring, I prefer the black herring because if it's a black herring, then we need to go out and say who generated this deep fake voice that resembles somebody's voice within the service, creating animosity at the very top, because there are just about 20 or so commissioners of police. Okay, so whatever it is, we need to get to the bottom of it. Even if it's a deep fake tape, somebody has an ulterior motive in creating disaffection among the commissioners against a particular person if he didn't do it, but also in testing both the political and the general public perception of Dr. Dampare. I know where I stand when it comes to the Inspector General of Police. Prior to and from the day he was appointed, I've been a strong Damparist because he's shown leadership, he's shown a capacity to respond very quickly when there are changes that need to be made within the service. As a human institution and as a human being, would he have made decisions that people don't like? Certainly. That is the hallmark of a good leader. So we can put that part of the conversation on the back burner for a split second and raise these fundamental questions that I've asked earlier on. What is it good for? Were this tape to be fake? That those who put it out in the public domain wish to achieve. And it is that point that we need the National Intelligence Bureau, if they cannot do it, to get their partners to help us to unravel this problem.
I mean, there's the National Intelligence Bureau, the Signals Bureau, all of them working, whether internally or externally, as far as our national security is concerned. But you've broached a very interesting subject. I've been asking myself, I mean, who would benefit from this? Whether the tape was doctored or otherwise, whether it proves to be true, who would benefit from this? Yesterday, I was in a certain place where a commissioner of police, who retains his title, of course, though retired, shared a few thoughts on this matter. It makes for very interesting reading. And I'm asking myself, look, I hope it's fake, but if proven to be true, what then does this say about the Ghana Police Service itself, those in the high echelons of the Ghana Police Service, and even the other members of the executive? I'm talking here about the political elements and everything we know. Now, look at it this way, Prof. The Economic or Economist Intelligence Unit has said that, look, it's likely the opposition will come to power in 2024. That has been corroborated by other, I believe it is Fitch, that also said that. Would this be too far-fetched if some assumed that there was too much smoke to think that there would be no fire?
Probably it's not just smoke, it's also sometimes smoke and mirrors, but without fire. And therein lies my point one. We don't need EIU and Fitch to tell us how people feel in this country. I've consistently argued that we have a certain fetish for information generated from the outside about ourselves. We need to generate that information. So let's put that one once more. That is the second back burner point. Benjamin, my concern is that if this tape is deep fake, why was it made? Who made it? Who leaked it? To what end? If it is correct or it is not fake and it is genuine, what, once more, do those who collaborated in bringing it out into the public domain want? So irrespective of which of these two perspectives apply, we need to get to the bottom of these faceless individuals who are seeking to undermine the credibility of an important institution by the Ghana Police Service and the credibility and authority of the Inspector General of Police. Because, once more, irrespective of which of these two perspectives apply, those who have put this state in the public domain do not have the interest and the stability of this country at heart. And that is why it is of critical importance that those behind it are exposed. And I don't know what the law says about deepfake and fake news. The appropriate sanctions must be applied. But I think the general public response to this tape is that Dr. George Akuffo Dampare is doing a good job, that people feel confident and comfortable with him, that his civility, his approach to policing and visibility have been useful. And I think leadership does matter. And when leadership transforms institutions and the way institutions function, those in leadership positions also meet enemies. But those who have put this tape into the public domain are the enemies, not only of the Ghana Police Service and Dr. Dampare, but of the generality of the Ghanaian populace and our democratic process.
I mean, you can look at our Security and Intelligence Agencies Act. You can look at other acts bordering on our national security as a country. There appears to be a lacuna, doesn't there, when it comes to matters related to deep fake, artificial intelligence. These are new entrants into the system, and people are using them for good and for bad, for nefarious activity and for positive activity. This leaves us in a bit of a lurch when it comes to the law, because some have said that these are treasonable. So even if this didn't happen, or if it did happen, for those who are involved, what could be the consequences? And for whoever put this together, if found out, what could be the consequences, especially as our law may not be so specific on deepfake and AI?
Well, I mean, Benjamin, what is fascinating about Act 1030, that is the Security and Intelligence Services Act, is that there are innocuous phrases in that act that allows those who have infringed on the law and the sanctity of the state to be punished. Okay? I mean, if you read that bulky document, it gives those who want to apply that law more than enough leeway to do so. Because by producing this tape where it to be fake and putting it out into the general public, what you seek to do is to create disaffection first against the person of the IGP and his institution, and create a false impression that somebody wants to raise election 2024. Now, knowing the sensitivities around the next year's election, whoever did this at 1030 has more than enough articles in there for it to be used. So, I mean, no one can go scot-free. Now, taking into consideration the fact that social media, AI, and new technologies are coming into play, look, this act creates more than enough leeway. And probably you have heard about the Adelphi project.
Right.
If we are serious about this, look, we have the technology in this country also to triangulate where those voices are coming from, because there were some background sounds that can be tracked and drilled down. So if we are serious about finding who did this and who leaked this, then I think it is possible. The technology is there, and the law also allows for punishment where we to find the people who are involved.
All right. Do hold for me, Prof. Let me bring in Peter Lanchene Tobu. He is member of the Defense and Interior Committee, also member of Parliament for Wa West. He joins the conversation. A very good morning to you, Supo.
Good morning, my brother. How are you doing?
I am very well.
Oh, let me salute my professor. Professor Gozeni, how are you?
Prof, you're getting salutations from Peter Tobu.
We are very old friends.
Well, no wonder we're having a friendly conversation. But to you, Peter, I've heard you speak on this matter, your initial thoughts, and you felt that while it had to be checked to ensure that no artificial intelligence had put this together, and we've seen the likes of tracks from Drake, the Canadian rapper, so it's a very dicey thing here. Deep fake with former President Obama. We have to get into it to find out what is truth, what is fiction. But at the same time, you're saying that we must probe the matter to its logical conclusion, and the minority will not take it lying down. Do you still stand by that position? And what do you want to see in terms of investigating the matter?
Thank you very much. Let me say good morning to your cherished listeners, and good morning to my senior brother and my mentor, Professor Aning. When you look at the security implication of what we've gotten at hand, it is quite interesting because they are implying that police can actually help government do the unlawful. Police can actually help government create chaos. But the police is an institution established by law. It has rules and regulations governing its operations. It has a mandate to comply with. The fact that the president appoints an inspector general of police doesn't make the Inspector General of Police partisan. The IGP can be politically sensitive, but the IGP is not allowed by law to be partisan.
Right.
And when you are professionally connected to your job, you cannot help a political party to do anything unlawful. I have said, the police, the truth is that the chairman who is involved in this matter, and somebody just mentioned the name, that if he's really the one who is involved, Chairman Bukrina, if he's really the one, I know him. That man has principles. Somebody should call him and go to him and he'll tell you, yes, it is true, they came to me, these are the people who came to me. How it was recorded, probably I don't know. How it got leaked, I don't know. But Chairman Bukrina, if he's really involved, will never deny that truth and try to color anything. He won't do it, I know him.
Peter, this is a treasonable offense. It's not just going to be easy for someone to say, yes, I was in the midst of this conversation and this and that. I mean, self-interest.
I am telling you, Chairman Bukrina can speak truth to death.
I see.
Chairman Bukrina can speak truth to death. If he's speaking the truth, what is treasonable about somebody speaking the truth to ensure that security is very sane to all of us? So if we're able to do that, the fact that the two police officers who are mentioned in the audio, they are still 7. One is on terminal leave, but he's still a police officer. The other one is still in active service. Police service can actually do some administrative investigation and deal with them. Let's not even escalate it to a national level. Let the police administration use its own internal mechanism to deal with these people if it is proven that, yes, this was what they were doing behind the scenes, to create a bad image for the Ghana Police Service, a huge dent for our democracy, and embarrass the president. This is so shameful.
Just hold for me. I'll come right back to you. Prof, I just want your brief take on this. Do you agree that the police service should deal with this matter internally? Some have said it should be escalated to the national level so we all get to know what is happening. Do you agree on that specific point?
No, I think Honorable Tobu makes a very good point here. You know, it's not everything that needs to be unnecessarily escalated to the national level. Can the police service deal with this administratively? Does it have the capacity to deal with this? Does it have the technological know-how? And I think he's mentioned some names. If those names that have been mentioned are correct, then yes, they can be called in and then administratively dealt with and interviewed. If the service thinks that it needs to elevate this to other institutions so that it creates a certain neutrality, then it's great. But we need to come to grips very quickly so that the sanctity of this institution is protected, the office of the IGP is protected.
Do you think the police has the capacity to do this?
Yes, I think so, yes.
All right. Just hold for me, Prof. Let me go back to Peter Tobu. So, obviously, Supo, you think the police should be delving into this matter rather than escalating it. We've heard from Ambrose Derry, the Interior Minister. He has poo-pooed it and said this is nothing, but you want it to be followed to its logical conclusion. And for you, the starting point is Bugri Nabu, right?
Yes. And for me, all the voices that we've heard, and we believe they are the people. If it is AI generated, we can prove that. Mm-hmm. If they are really the people, involved, we can also prove that.
The question is, does the Ghana Police Service or the NIB have the capacity to do that?
They do.
Right.
They do. Yes, they do. And I think that the IGP should have begun this even yesterday, not today. Please, let's sanitize the system. You know, when you are Inspector General of Police, your mandate is beyond a political party. Your interest is to ensure that you've taken over a very peaceful country, you leave it better than you took over from. If nothing at all, it should not be worse. That is the mandate that you've been tasked with. The president says, please come and ensure that this country is peaceful. Come and manage crime. Ensure that criminal elements are caged so that we can have a decent life to live. That is all you are supposed to be doing. Any other thing that is an unlawful thing that you want to support to, no law will back you. Police take lawful instructions. And even the Inspector General of Police, even told the fact that we are operating a unitary system, unity of command for the Ghana Police Service. Command and control resides in the Inspector General of Police. If you issue wrong instructions, people will disobey them and disregard you, and you will not have legitimacy to perform your job as Inspector General of Police. I think that this matter should be an administrative one for the police to investigate, and let's not escalate it. We need enough time to think about creative stuff that can develop this country and pick us out of this economic mess, and don't let this occupy too much of our attention.
You know the law pretty well. Deepfake and AI-related offenses, while we may have some trajectory of the law dealing with them, we don't have that integration properly because it's not something that is so prominent here. If this proves to be deepfake, how do we address it from the legal standpoint in terms of punitive measures and all of that?
Because it's going to be an administrative investigation. If they are proven guilty, even as much as it can be a misdemeanor, they will be dealt with. We just want them to investigate the matter and reveal the rot in the system and show them to the world that these are the kinds of people wearing uniform destroying the image of the police. That is what is paramount. It's not about the gravity of the offense or the gravity of the punishment. It's all about the fact that truth has been unearthed and the Ghana police will remain clean to support our democratic growth. Without police, we can't have democracy. And in every democratic system, a strong police institution gives the country a better future.
So I was talking about if it was deepfake. I think you are talking more about if those people cited, those high-ranking police officers, are in fact complicit, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what if this turns out not to be true, but it was a number of people who sat there, used technology, deepfake in this instance, to put this together? How do we deal with them?
If that is the angle, investigations will prove, and I'm sure that the victims who are involved will also be excited that we can go to the end and at least get those people behind the generation of these voices punished by law.
Right before I go back to Professor Aning, Peter, so we know that sharing some material can come with consequences. For example, teenagers engaging or someone recording a teenager or a child, I should say, in sexual activity, intimacy and all of that, or sharing nude photos of a partner and all of that. Those are proscribed by our law. In this instance, this video, this audio, I should say, and some people are circulating it, does it come with any proscription, so to speak? And what would be the punitive measures, if any?
Right. I think that sometimes it is also good for information to be shared. I don't think that this is a very violent video. I am not sure that this one will create the kind of impact that sharing a video involving a child that is inappropriate. So please let people get to know that the video is in the system and it has been shared widely. Can we stop it from being shared? What are we intending to achieve? Let's delve into the video, credit it or discredit it, and we'll pick it from there.
Now, Prof, there has been this talk, and Peter Lanchene-Tobu has already made mention of it, that the IGP can have a political leaning, but he shouldn't be, or he or she shouldn't be partisan. It shouldn't reflect in their work. They are IGP, not NPP IGP, not NDC IGP. But you listen to the tape, and there's also the rhetoric that has spun off it that the former president, John Dramani Mahama, purportedly again had given a promise to the IGP that if he came to power, he would still retain him as some sort of guarantee that just do your work, and if I come to power, I'll retain you. Can we extricate the IGP position, especially as it's under the executive, from the political twists and turns of our system?
What?
Prof,
an IGP is appointed?
This is for Professor Aning.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
So an IGP is appointed. It's pretty tricky. But you can be professional and you can be known for doing what is right, professionally. Will there be pressures occasionally to, do favors? Yes. Will you do favors sometimes? Certainly. But those favors will not and must not go against the law or the general interest of the state. So, yes, an IGP can be appointed by one political party, but that IGP can also take decisions using the law that goes against the interests of that political party or individuals within that political party. And in the Fourth Republic, we've seen instances where IGPs have acted in ways that the appointing authority found difficult to deal with. So I don't think it's a contradiction at all. It is the integrity of the individual's professionalism, determination to lead a much better service. But irrespective of how an IGP works, or somebody similar in such a position, there will always be people who are affected by that decision who will say, well, you are for this party or for that party. So it is the integrity, professionalism, and this drive to lead a better, stronger, well-functioning institution that should be the fulcrum around which we discuss the role of an IGP.
Now, going back to the political point, Prof, if on the back of this, Mr. President decides at a point in time to replace Dr. George Ekufu Dampare, then it would appear government would in some way be held to ransom, because he may have his plans and he has the power per our constitution to do that. But with this, it would be as though he had been caught between a rock and a hard place, the devil and the deep blue sea. If you sack him, people will say, we said it, and it was true. If you don't sack him, people will say, he's afraid. Where does that leave our executive president in the midst of all of this? And should he be seen even wading into this matter?
No. Actually, the president shouldn't lose sleep at all. And I'm hoping that for lunch you have a very lovely caviar with cold smoked salmon and rye bread and a lovely glass of chablis. He shouldn't lose sleep over this. No. If he wants to change him, he will change him. If he wants to retain him, he must retain him. And I think the president has been very consistent, both in providing logistics to the Ghana Police Service, in praising the IGP when it is necessary, and I don't think this is a matter for the president's table at all. He will make the decisions that are necessary as and when he sees fit. However, because of the sensitivity of the tape, and here my interest is in those people who leaked it, let's get where the leakage, the source is from, and then we will find out whether it is AI generated or it is a generated. But the president should sleep and go about his job. They should not bother him at all.
Before we move on to the second subject, we're going to be discussing about those purported number of Burkinabes that are being sent back to their country. So in conclusion on this matter, in the next few days, yes, I should say days, not weeks, what actions specifically would you like to see from the Ghana Police Service? And while it has been jettisoned, so to speak, by the Interior Minister, the security setup, Defense, Interior, the NIB, the Ghana Police Service, and any other entity involved, what actions would you like to see step by step being taken to ensure that we get to the bottom of this, that we can determine that it is either this or that, and that based on this, these are the consequences of whoever was involved, whether it was artificial intelligence used, deepfake, or whether it was real? What would you like to see? I'll start with you, Prof, before I go back to Peter Tobu.
Okay, thank you very quickly. Whatever it is, We have the technology, we have the expertise to find out who made this tape, whose voices are on it, and who leaked it. But this should serve as a cautionary tale to the people of Ghana, that going forward, you cannot hide, neither can you run away. That AI, deepfake, and fake news will play a major role going forward.
We must wake up and smell the coffee, right?
We must wake up. Well, I have a lovely Ethiopian coffee that I'm drinking right now. But deepfake and AI will play a very critical role in election 2024, and I think we need to up our game to be able to identify what is fake, what is right.
All right. Let me come to you, Peter Tobu. What's your thinking? What would you like to see in the coming days?
Thank you very much. The first thing I would like to see is very proactive action from the Ghana Police Service, because anything that drags the image of the Ghana Police Service into the mass, we say it brings the name of the police service into disrepute. It is punishable administratively, and I want them to take a look at that. Whether it is AI, technology is managed by people. Whoever manages that AI has to be dealt with. If it is not AI and it is actually true that this is what happened, the two police officers who are involved should be dealt with. Simplicity. And going forward, let nobody be deceived that President Akufo-Addo cannot remove Dr. Joseph. The truth, however, is that if you look at his leadership style, the attrition ministers will tell you that he hardly changed people. It is not every minister who is performing to the liking of the Ghanaian people. But President Akufo-Addo hardly changes people. So it will be very out of the blue that he's changing the IGP that is providing the environment as to that he did nothing at all during his time. He appointed one IGP that ensured every person respected it for. I think that this is one of his high in his leadership. For me, let's move forward on this matter and let's believe that the police can do something about it. Keep the police intact, because it's an institution of law that democracy must protect, and all of us must get support.
Right, so for you, the IGP is performing and he should be at post.
It is not for me to say, it is for all of us to see that when you go out there and you commit a traffic offense, the police do not really care who you are.
No, but just clarify this for me. I mean, maybe you may not be able to say that he should stay at post. I get you on that. But for you, you've been there. You've been an executive secretary or assistant to the IGP before. Maybe not this IGP. But the question is, do you feel, on the back of what you've seen, this IGP is performing? There are people sending in messages and they're saying, this guy is doing well, we shouldn't touch him. Do you corroborate that?
Listen, my brother, from the experience I've gotten, it is not the doing well that is IGP. There are so many other factors. But if it's just the practical demonstration of police expertise in the area of law enforcement, we give him a plus.
You'll give him a plus, right. Right before we go on, there was something that skipped my mind. Gentlemen, just briefly on this. I'll start with you, Peter. Ambrose Derry coming out to say, basically throw this in the dustbin. This is nothing to pay attention to. Do you agree with him? Was it a right thing to do?
That is a political statement. But the professional statement, if you have police officers, and if it is true, if there are police officers portraying their professionalism like this to a civilian, and you don't think that it brings the name of the police service to disrepute, then I don't know what it is. It's embarrassing, and in fact, it threatens the whole image of the Ghana Police Service. That if people at that level can stoop low, what is wrong with you both going to IGP and suggesting to you this and this are being, I think that we don't agree. I mean, one of them has been a POMAP member. POMAP is led by the IGP, but the IGP is not POMAP. Let me say this. The Police Management Board has the IGP as the head, but the IGP is not the Police Management Board. Most board members can influence decisions. If you fail in your level to influence decisions, you don't go out and stab somebody in the back. I just want to believe that this is not true. If it is true, the act must fall questions. After all, nonsense.
Prof, do you feel the minister erred by saying what he did so categorically when, in fact, we didn't even have the proof? We didn't have the evidence. We hadn't conducted any investigations.
The minister probably made a political statement, but professional that would have been very wrong to say if he was...
Is that Prof or Lanchini?
Peter speaking, yes.
Okay.
That's Peter speaking, yes.
All right. Prof, what is your take? Did he err?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the minister needs to assuage public fears and public concern.
But without facts?
No. First is to his responsibility, first and foremost. And you will notice that he was focusing on possible criminal aspects, okay? Was to assuage public fears as to whether the tape is true or not. And from where he says, well, made a categorical statement. Now that we have some information, it's for those who have the information to go back and to say, Honorable Minister, what do we do? Okay, but I think every minister's responsibility, first and foremost, is to ensure that cases that can lead to fear, to upheaval, are assuaged and dampened, and then the subsequent responses can take place.